History is shaped by those in power, and some rulers didn't just govern, they transformed entire civilizations. From battlefield brilliance to groundbreaking reforms, these monarchs left an impact that still echoes today. Stay tuned because number 1 might just surprise you. Number 10. Emperor Meiji, Japan, 1867 to 1912. Imagine a nation completely isolated from the world for centuries, suddenly stepping into modernity at lightning speed. That's exactly what happened under Emperor Meiji. Before his reign, Japan was a feudal society with samurai and shoguns ruling the land. Then, in 1868, Meiji took power, and everything changed. His government abolished the samurai class, introduced Western-style industry, military, and education, and turned Japan into a global power almost overnight. The Meiji Restoration wasn't just about modernization, it was about survival. While China struggled under colonial pressures, Japan became strong enough to stand against Western empires. Without Emperor Meiji, Japan would have remained a relic of the past rather than a leader in the 20th century. Number 9. Queen Elizabeth I, England, 1558 to 1603. She inherited a divided country, outmaneuvered powerful enemies, and ruled without a king in a time when women were expected to stay silent. Queen Elizabeth I wasn't just a monarch, she was a force of nature. When she took the throne, England was weak and unstable. Her father, Henry VIII, had split from the Catholic Church, causing unrest. Her sister, Mary the Martyrs, had brutally tried to restore Catholic rule. And then there was Spain, the world's superpower at the time, threatening to invade. But Elizabeth played the long game. She strengthened England's navy, inspired exploration. Think Sir Francis Drake and the defeat of the Spanish Armada in 1588, and oversaw the English Renaissance, which gave us William Shakespeare. Her leadership set the foundation for Britain's rise as a global empire. Without Elizabeth, there's no Victorian era, no Industrial Revolution, no British superpower. Number 8. Peter the Great, Russia, 1682 to 1725. What happens when a giant of a man, literally, Peter was nearly 7 feet tall, decides to drag his medieval country into the modern world? Russia becomes a powerhouse. Peter the Great saw that Western Europe was advancing rapidly, while Russia remained stuck in old traditions. So he took a hands-on approach. He traveled to Europe in disguise, worked in shipyards, studied science, and learned everything he could about modern governance. Then he came back and forced Russia to change. He built a new capital, St. Petersburg, which became Russia's window to the West. He modernized the military, introduced Western customs, even forcing nobles to shave their beards, and transformed Russia into a European-style empire. By the time he died, Russia was a force to be reckoned with, thanks to Peter's relentless push for progress. Number 7. Genghis Khan, Mongol Empire, 1206-1227. Most monarchs rule a single country. Genghis Khan? He built the largest contiguous land empire in history. Born as Temujin in the harsh Mongolian steppes, he united warring tribes and forged them into a disciplined war machine. His armies were unstoppable, conquering China, Central Asia, the Middle East, and Eastern Europe. But Genghis Khan wasn't just about destruction. He created a functioning empire. Under his rule, the Silk Road became safer than ever. Trade flourished, and he promoted religious tolerance. Though his methods were brutal, his legacy is undeniable. The Mongol Empire connected the East and West like never before, leading to cultural exchanges that shaped the world. Number 6. Napoleon Bonaparte, France, 1804 to 1815. Love him or hate him, Napoleon was a genius. Rising from an obscure Corsican background, he took over France and reshaped Europe. His military campaigns changed warfare forever, but his real power was in governance. He introduced the Napoleonic Code, a legal system still used today. He revolutionized European politics, dismantled feudalism, and spread ideals of meritocracy and secular governance. Even after his defeat, his influence didn't disappear. The French Revolution's ideas spread, inspiring countless independence movements. Napoleon's wars may have ended in exile, but his mark on history is eternal. Number 5. Charlemagne, Holy Roman Empire, 768 to 814. Imagine Europe without a unifying force, just small warring tribes. That's what the continent looked like before Charlemagne. He not only expanded the Frankish Empire, but also revived learning, culture, and governance after the fall of Rome. Crowned emperor by the Pope in 800 AD, Charlemagne reintroduced centralized rule, built schools, and preserved ancient knowledge that would later fuel the Renaissance. Without him, Europe's Dark Ages might have lasted much longer. Number 4. King Louis XIV, France, 1643 to 1715. The Sun King ruled for 72 years, longer than any monarch in European history. Under his reign, France became the most powerful country in Europe. He centralized power, built the extravagant Palace of Versailles, and turned France into a cultural and military giant. Louis XIV's absolute rule inspired both admiration and fear. His policies laid the groundwork for the French Revolution, but they also made France the model for modern centralized states. Number 3. Qin Shi Huang, China, 221–210 BC. The first emperor of China didn't just unite warring states, he built an empire that lasted for thousands of years. Qin Shi Huang standardized currency, measurements, and language. He also connected the Great Wall and built an elaborate tomb guarded by the Terracotta Army. His reign was brutal, but his legacy shaped China's identity forever. Number 2. Alexander the Great, Macedonia, 336–323 BC. By the age of 30, Alexander had conquered most of the known world. From Greece to Egypt to India, his empire spread Greek culture, science, and philosophy. Even after his death, his influence shaped civilizations for centuries. His vision of a unified world influenced everything from art to government. Without him, Western civilization might have looked very different. Number 1. Julius Caesar, Rome, 49–44 BC. Before Caesar, Rome was a republic. After him, it became an empire. His military conquests expanded Roman rule, but his biggest impact came from his political reforms. He restructured the government, improved infrastructure, and laid the foundation for the Roman Empire. His assassination in 44 BC didn't stop his legacy. His adopted heir, Augustus, became Rome's first emperor, marking the start of a new era. Without Caesar, history might have taken a completely different path. History isn't just about events, it's about the people who made them happen. These rulers didn't just sit on thrones, they shaped the future. Which one do you think had the biggest impact? Let me know in the comments.